We're stepping right into the absolute deepest mysteries of space, physics, and honestly, the very fabric of creation itself. For centuries, we were taught to think of the universe as this giant mechanical clock, just a cold, dead system running on blind laws. But modern science has completely ripped the veil off that idea, and it's revealed something far, far more dynamic. What we're going to explore today is how the absolute cutting edge of quantum physics, beautifully and surprisingly, aligns with ancient theological concepts of continuous divine creation.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to picture sitting in an entirely empty, silent room. Your senses are telling you there is absolutely nothing there. But is it really empty? Well, if you were to suddenly turn on a radio, the room would instantly fill with music and voices. Those radio waves? They were always there, actively passing right through you. You just couldn't perceive them. And the exact same thing is true for the universe. What we intuitively think of as nothingness when we look out into the dark void of space is actually a massive illusion.
Which brings us to this fascinating idea of the quantum vacuum. Early physicists were actually among the first to realize that space isn't just a dead, empty container for matter to sit in. It's an active participant. It has its own density, its own physical properties. Modern physics has basically proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that absolute nothingness is impossible. Instead of an empty void, the vacuum of space is a foundational field of reality, and it is constantly boiling with energy and microscopic events. It's literally like the universe is breathing.
To really wrap our heads around just how active this vacuum is, we have to look at unimaginably small timescales. We're talking less than 10 to the power of -21 seconds. That is an incredibly tiny, almost incomprehensible fraction of a second where these things called virtual particles frantically pop into existence out of literally nowhere and then poof, vanish right back into the void. The universe is constantly pulsating at this microscopic level. Matter is quite literally bubbling up from the unseen and disappearing just as fast.
Now, what is really fascinating here is that these virtual particles never ever appear alone. They always burst into existence as perfectly paired opposites, like a particle and an antiparticle. Think an electron and a positron. This modern scientific discovery of universal pairing echoes so profoundly with this verse from the Quran, "Glory be to him who created all things in pairs." It highlights an absolutely incredible thematic overlap, showing a universe where the principle of duality is woven right into the mathematical structure of reality itself.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, this just sounds like total chaos. But it's really not. It's governed by incredibly strict rules, most famously the uncertainty principle. In quantum mechanics, this rule strictly dictates that the energy in a vacuum can never, ever drop to absolute zero. It mathematically guarantees this continuous fluctuation. So this strict framework proves the vacuum isn't some random chaotic abyss. No, it's a highly organized system with internal rules. And where there are rules, there is an underlying order.
Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how beautifully modern science maps onto ancient philosophy here. On one side, we have quantum fluctuations, right? The physics of particles popping in and out of existence. But on the other side, we have Khalq Jadid, which is an 800-year-old theological doctrine of transience. This ancient idea argues that reality doesn't just exist continuously on its own, it's constantly being destroyed and remade, moment by tiny moment. It turns out, modern quantum mechanics is describing the exact same rhythm of continuous creation.
And science even gives us the exact speed of that rhythm. It's called the Planck interval, roughly 10 to the power of -44 seconds. This is quite literally the smallest measurable unit of time. You can sort of think of it as the frame rate of the universe. In every single microscopic Planck interval, reality is essentially collapsing and being actively recreated from nothing. Nothing persists entirely on its own. The universe is just continually, endlessly refreshed. This really brings a whole new layer of depth to the Quranic verse. When he decrees a matter, he only says to it be, and it is. Think about it. When a modern scientist observes a virtual particle flash into existence in a high-tech laboratory, they aren't just looking at random math on a chalkboard. From a theological perspective, they are basically witnessing a single, microscopic instance of that divine command, kun fayakun. The vacuum isn't creating on its own. It's the medium actively responding to a continuous command.
But here is the million-dollar question. If the universe is a boiling quantum soup, with reality collapsing and recreating trillions of times a second, why doesn't it all just fall apart? How does this chaotic, frantic vacuum not just rip our physical atomic reality to shreds? Why are you and I able to just sit here feeling solid and stable without dissolving into pure energy?
The answer lies in what is essentially invisible armor, specifically the strong nuclear force.
This is literally the strongest fundamental force in physics. It binds quarks together into protons and neutrons, and it holds the nuclei of atoms together against an incredible amount of explosive tension. It is the ultimate balancing act. If this force were just 1% weaker, stars wouldn't be able to produce oxygen, atoms would just fall apart, and life as we know it would be completely impossible.
So the crucial point is the absolute perfection of this binding force. Notice how this directly relates to the Quranic challenge in chapter 67. You do not see in the creation of the Most Merciful any inconsistency, so return your vision. Do you see any crack? Science absolutely confirms there are no cracks or flaws in the nuclear glue of our universe. The cohesion is absolute, because if there were even a microfracture in the laws holding atoms together, reality would instantly disintegrate.
To really understand what a physical crack in the universe would actually look like, physicists have this genuinely terrifying theoretical concept called vacuum decay. This is a catastrophic scenario where our current universe, which might be sitting in a slightly unstable false vacuum, suddenly collapses into a lower energy true vacuum. If that happened, it would create a rapidly expanding bubble of new physics that fundamentally rewrites the laws of nature as it goes.
And this brilliantly illustrates what would happen next, because if a crack like vacuum decay were to happen, the chain reaction would be truly apocalyptic. Atomic nuclei would explode instantly. All matter would vaporize at the speed of light. The very laws of physics would be completely rewritten inside this expanding bubble, and there would be absolutely no escape. Yet, for billions of years, this hasn't happened. The software of the cosmos just hasn't crashed.
So why doesn't it crash? Well, in Islamic theology, this incredible stability is attributed to Al-Muhaymin, the guardian or the overseer. It's this divine stabilizing force that continuously maintains those delicate energy bindings and prevents theoretical catastrophes like vacuum decay from ever kicking off. The universe doesn't hold itself together by some lucky accident. It is actively guarded and maintained in a state of perfect equilibrium, preventing the fabric of space-time from ripping apart.
And maintaining this equilibrium requires a level of precision that, frankly, breaks the human mind. Just look at this number. 1 in 10 to the power of 120. That is the staggering mathematical precision required for the cosmological constant, which is the energy of the vacuum itself. It has to perfectly balance the gravity holding galaxies together against the dark energy expanding the universe. If this number were off by even the tiniest microscopic fraction, the universe would either collapse instantly or rip itself apart so fast that stars could never even form.
Let's move to something else and see how this builds a profound bridge between the physical and the metaphysical. Einstein's famous equation E=mc² tells us that matter is literally just light and energy that has slowed down enough to become tangible. Now, compare that scientific fact to the theological concept of angelic realms, beings described as made of pure, subtle light and energy. Matter isn't the ultimate reality, right? It's really just a temporary condensed state of pure light. The physical world around us is basically just frozen energy.
Which leads us to a really profound final thought for today's explainer. If physical matter is essentially just condensed energy, actively guided and held together by an unseen, continuous command, what does that make us? Are we simply conscious waves in a divine cosmic ocean? Your consciousness isn't some random error in a dead mechanical universe. You are an active, deeply connected part of this continuous creation. You are a physical manifestation of an infinite breathing cosmos. Definitely think about that the next time you look up at the empty night sky. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the universe around you. Catch you next time.